Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Game of Thrones Season 4, Episode 8, The Mountain and the Viper. And this episode was probably the second weakest episode of the season. I'll admit that right now. It was not as bad as Breaker of Chains. It really wasn't. It was actually quite good. There were a lot of, the difference with Breaker of Chains was that there were a lot of stuff in that episode I didn't care about. And this episode was not like that very much. Everything in this episode I did care about. However, I just felt like there was a lot of stuff in this episode that was kind of boring. But the ending was just wow. The ending was wow, and I don't know what else to think of what's going to happen. Especially because this is the episode before the pivotal 9th episode, which is the most important episode of this show each season. Because the 9th episode, that's when Red Wedding happened last season. So, who knows what can happen this season. But we'll get to that when I talk about what's going to happen in the next episode. Let's just get to this episode, though. So, we start off with someone yelling the reigns of Casimir, and it's a tavern in Molestown with prostitutes. Gilly is at that house, and one of the prostitutes asks about Gilly's baby and threatens to kill her baby if the baby does not quiet down. So Gilly hears something. The prostitute tells her that it's just an owl, but Gilly knows it's not. She knows it is the Wildlings approaching, so that's obviously not good. So in town, we see Tormund, Giantsbane, and the Wildlings. They have come to Molestown where Gilly is. They're raiding the town and killing people, and it's just a bunch of shit is going down in the beginning. I actually really like the game. Like, wow, this is intense. The Wildlings are killing everyone. Ygritte comes into the tavern, sees Gilly. By the way, Ygritte is by far one of my least favorite characters on this show. I honestly don't even care about her anymore. We have not seen Ygritte that much this season, so I personally don't give a shit about her. She sees Gilly. She does not give her up. She motions for Gilly to be quiet. And, basically, Sam, who's, with the Night Watch, thinks that Gilly is dead. And he's just very upset because he left her in Molestown. He has a very, he was the one that decided to leave her. If you remember in Breaker of Chains, they decided that he would leave her. And, that kind of continued that in this episode. I find it kind of funny that both episodes that were just weak, whereas both have to do with Sam and Gilly. Because I don't really care about them. And he's told that Gilly survived so much he just might not have gotten out. So, Jon Snow tells the man that if Mance and his army men hit Moletown, they are next. And the Night Watch wonder how 102 men can stop 100,000 men. So, that's a pretty big thing there. So then we see Daenerys' henchman, Missandei, and she's upset because Grey Worm has been spying on her as she washes, and Dany tells Missandei not to worry because Grey Worm is castrated, and he's not interested in her. So Missandei asks Daenerys if he was interested. So Missandei is walking in, and Grey Worm comes to apologize to her for watching her. Missandei tells him that she's sorry that he was castrated, but he tells her he's not sorry because if he was not an Unsullied, he would never have met her. And Missandei tells him she's glad he saw her, and he says, so am I. So, I mean, that was kind of interesting, I guess. And you gotta feel bad for these slaves, honestly, because now they're living their own life, and I like that we saw a little bit more of that. So yeah, that was good. Then we see Ramsey, and he is with Theon, Reek, whatever you want to call him, and he tells him that Kraken has been taken out of the Sea Dye, and that they are not too bright. Ramsey reminds Theon that he is now Theon Greyjoy, but he's pretending because he's actually Reek. And Ramsey sends Theon to take the castle. Theon approaches with a white flag, and the commander of the garrison, Theon, tells him he is Balon's third son. He is the prince. And Kanan asks Theon why he's marching with Ramsey. Theon tells the commander that if he surrenders, he will take care of them because he knows they are starving. The commander spits at Theon, tells him he is a whip dog, as he's taking another one of the men. And as he is talking, another one of the men takes a sword, kills the commander right then and there. So the men agree to surrender, and he asks Theon if they will live, and he agrees that they will. So, we then see the man dead. Ramsey has killed them and tells Theon that they are going to live in their new home. Then we see Littlefinger, and he is meeting with a tribunal of the Vale, and they're surprised that Lysa had fallen through the moon door. They ask him about his niece, and they want to speak to her. And the members of the tribunal go and get Sansa. Sansa apologizes to Littlefinger and says she has to tell the truth that she's not his niece. And I thought that was pretty big because, she's been hiding out and pretending to be his niece all this time, and she finally revealed to him the truth. So I thought that was a pretty big thing. And I was surprised that she told him. I thought she was going to tell him in the season finale, but that didn't happen. And she says she's Sansa Stark and that Littlefinger has been protecting her. So she then tells the criminal that her aunt was a jealous lady and that she was terrified because Littlefinger was going to leave her. Sansa then lets them know that Lysa was jealous of her and saw Littlefinger give her a peck and went crazy, and then threw herself from the moon door, which is not the truth at all. She had to lie to them, basically. And Littlefinger speaks to the members of the tribunal, and they ask who he thinks they should back as the king. He tells them they should back Lysa's sickly son, Robert, and they're very surprised about that, so that's a pretty big thing. And then we see Barristan Selmy, and he's handed a document with a seal in it, and he goes to see Jorah, and he gives him the document. It's a royal pardon signed by Robert Baratheon, which, you know, was very interesting because they just talked about Robert Baratheon, so I think it's kind of interesting. So Barristan realizes that Jorah has been spying on Daenerys and wanted Jorah to know before he tells Daenerys that Jorah had been pardoned. So he goes to see Daenerys, and she asks him why he was pardoned the year they met. And Jorah admits he sent information to Varys, and he told Varys that she was pregnant and about her life. And Daenerys realized that the white merchant that tried to give her poison wine was because of Jorah. She tells him she knows he sold her secrets to the man who killed her father. And Daenerys tells Jorah she does not want him in her city, dead or alive. She tells him to go to King's Landing, give him till death to leave Mirren, or he will be decapitated. So that's a really big thing here. That's really great. They're really setting up that 9th episode really well with that plot, because basically he has to leave, and if he doesn't leave, he's gonna die. I'm pretty sure he's probably gonna die because, one, he's not a huge character. Jorah's not a huge character, and I don't really think anybody really cares about him. We care about Daenerys and her thing, but I don't think we really care about Jorah, so I pretty much think Jorah's probably gonna die next week because, you know, it's the 9th episode, and whoever dies in the show always dies the episode before the finale, because I don't know, I like the way they do that. So that's gonna happen in the 9th episode. You know, so whatever happens there, that's going to be a pretty big thing. And basically, he has to leave or he's going to be decapitated. So we'll have to see what happens next week, because that's all we saw of that. So then Ramsey brings the barons to the castle he took to his father, Roose Bolton. And Roose wants to know if there's any word from Locke. He takes Ramsey to the top of the hill, asks him what he sees. Ramsey tells him nothing. Roose tells him it is the north, and now Ramsey is not Ramsey Snow. He is Ramsey Bolton. Ramsey is honored. His father has given him his name, and he is no longer a bastard. That's a pretty big thing, because, I mean, Ramsey is kind of like, you know, Ramsey was telling Theon before, this is who you are, and I guess Ramsey's kind of used to people changing his names to them. To him, this is a good thing, so, I mean, I don't know what's really going to happen there. I honestly don't really care about that anymore. I don't know. I cared about Theon's plot last week, but in this episode, I mean, I cared about it in the last episode, but in this episode, I just wasn't feeling it. I really wasn't. So, I really don't care that much about this, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens here. Then we see Sansa, and she's in her room, and Littlefinger knocks on her door, and comes in. And he wants to know why Sansa helped him, and Sansa helped Peter because if they had executed Peter, she was worried about what would happen to her. So, I mean, that's a pretty big thing, because, you know, she lied to him because... She lied to him because, you know, because, again, she was accused of killing Joffrey. So say that she executed Littlefinger, they would think that she's a murderer now and something like that, or that she's okay with him dying, and then they would have assumed that she killed Joffrey, because, you know, that still hasn't been cleared up that Sansa did not kill Joffrey. That's still a thing that people think. So I'm kind of thinking that's what was going through Sansa's head. Sansa's stuff I actually really like in this episode. One, because I like Sansa. She's hot and everything, so I like Sansa's character. Two, I just think her storyline's really interesting. I know a lot of people think Sansa's a boring character. To me, she's the hottest girl on the show. I'll say that right now. So Arya then tells the Hounds that she is upset because she did not get to see Joffrey die. And I like this scene because we get to see Arya's opinion of Joffrey, basically. And the Hound tells her that Joffrey was poisoned and that is a woman's weapon. And Arya tells the Hound she would have killed Joffrey with a chicken bone. And the Hound says, I would have liked to see that. You kind of get to see the Hound and Arya are starting to get along, which I like. I like the Hound and Arya are starting to get along. Although we do know that episode 10 is probably going to be the Stark reunion. So I'm thinking pretty soon they're all going to meet up. They're very close to meeting up at this point. They are very, very close. So I'm looking forward to seeing where they're going to go from here. But I like that scene overall because we got to see Arya's opinion of all this, which I like seeing. So the Hound and Arya arrive at the Eyrie to see Arya's aunt, Lady Arryn. The guard tells Arya she died 3 days before, and Arya starts giggling and giggling. So, I don't know. Arya's stuff was okay. I like the Starks, but, you know, I cared most about the end of the episode. Then we see Littlefinger, and he speaks to Lady Arryn's son, Robert, and tells him what it is to be Lord of the Vale. So, maybe Littlefinger might be working with Robert. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens there. Then we get to the end of the episode. And the end of the episode is awesome. The end of the episode made up for the rest of the episode. Because the rest of the episode, I'm like, this is boring. I like Sansa stuff, but the other stuff was just... Like, seriously, that was me through it. I wasn't even paying attention to a lot of stuff. I pay attention to Sansa stuff, obviously. But a lot of stuff I was not paying that much attention to. In fact, you guys know, I read this off a recap. So, you guys know that. That's how I just know all this stuff. Because I read off a recap, which... I mean, yeah, you could say is unprofessional, but at the same time, I can't remember everything that happens, and I want to, so... Yeah. Let's get to the best part of the episode. The trial by combat was in this episode, and Tyrion is with Jaime, and he's keeping Tyrion company until the battle, and Tyrion's worried Oberyn is not going to be able to defeat Gregor Clegane, because if you remember, Cersei said before that he is one of the most powerful... one of the most powerful figures, you know, that could be in a tribal combat. He's pretty much undefeatable. And you can see, and and Jaime and Tyrion are spending some time remembering the past. And they even talk about things like Ned Stark and just a lot of memories of the past. And I like that they reference that because you got to see just them being... I love Jaime being a great brother to Tyrion. I've said it all season, and I still love it. So the bells toll, and Jaime leaves and wishes Tyrion luck. Tyrion's taken outside where the battle will be held, and basically it's time to start the battle. So all the people of King's Landing are there. They're ready to watch the fight. And then Tyrion sees Oberyn, and he's drinking, and he tells him he should not drink. Obviously, that's a really bad thing, because if he's drunk, then he's not going to be able to take down this guy, because one, he's going to be weak because he's drunk. Two, it's just not going to be a good thing in the long run. So, the proceedings begin. The bell will determine Tyrion's guilt or innocence, and I was really pulling for Tyrion, because, you know, you gotta root for Tyrion here. Cersei is just a bitch, and I'm glad we did not see any Cersei in this episode, but seriously... This fight was awesome. I got it, even though I wanted Tyrion to win. This whole scene was awesome. Prince Oberyn does a lot of showing off. He tells Clegane that he is the brother of the woman Clegane raped and murdered. He wants Clegane to admit that he killed his sister and her children. He then stabs Clegane. As he stabs him, he continues to accuse him of killing his sister's children. I mean, he is pissed at Clegane. He's ready to kill this guy. He is ready to. And instead of finishing him off, he then pulls a sword out of Clegane and tries to get him to admit he killed his sister and his sister's children. That is the worst mistake he could have made, because as he does this, he grabs Prince Oberyn, he pushes Prince Oberyn's eyes out, puts his skull between his hands, he admits he killed and raped Prince Oberyn's sister, and then he stomps on his head like a tomato. And that's how the episode ends. And I was just like, oh, holy shit, like, seriously, I could not believe what happened there. I mean, that was by far the biggest moment of the entire season, I think. Because, I was talking to, Kane LaPlante, a.k.a. the Kid of Awesome, about this, and we both agreed that's probably the most graphic scene on the show so far, because he stomped on his head. He stomped on it, and I was not expecting that at all. I thought that was awesome, the way they did that. But then the worst part is that Tywin then stands up and said, "The gods have spoken, Tyrion. You are guilty and sentenced to death." So yes, Tyrion's sentenced to death. He's probably going to die next week. Is there a way he can get out of it? I really don't know. I hope there is. Let's talk about the next episode, because again, it's the pivotal 9th episode. Now, I will not be watching this episode live, because it's Tony's on Sunday. I'm going to tell you guys now, there are a lot of reviews that are going to be late on Sunday because of the Tonys. I'm just not going to have the time to. I know that right now. Basically, what I am going to say, though, is that there's a lot of stuff to talk about right now. You know, is Tyrion going to die? I hope there's a way for him to get out of this. I really am pulling for him. You know, because Tyrion didn't do anything wrong. He had nothing to do with the death of Joffrey. He didn't have anything to... He didn't kill Joffrey. It was Lady Olenna that did it, which... That, we haven't seen any of Lady Olenna, so I'm thinking in the next episode we will see some of that. However, that might not be till episode 10, because I think next week is just going to be The Wall, The Watchers on the Wall. That's the name of the episode next week, The Watchers on the Wall, and I think there's going to be a major death next week. We'll have to see. Jorah's going to die. I'm pretty much saying that Jorah's not going to listen to Daenerys. He's not going to leave town. He's going to be like, Daenerys is not serious about this. I'm not going to leave town. Because, you know, Jorah just seems to be an asshole sort of character. So, yeah. Ramsey, I don't really care about. I don't give a shit about Ramsey anymore. I really don't. We'll have to see what happens there. As far as Arya, I like that Arya and the Hound are getting along. I do enjoy that a lot. And it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And also, as far as Sam and Gilly, that's going to be interesting because of next week. We'll have to see. It's kind of like the Night Watch versus the Wildlings now. So we'll have to see who's going to win in the Night Watch versus the Wildlings. We'll have to see what happens. But this is my review. I hope you enjoyed it. And my next review will be for Halt and Catch Fire. Will be for the series premiere of Halt and Catch Fire. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.